Good morning, children. The next chapter, I have already finished matter in the surrounding in the previous video. So next chapter according to the syllabus is chapter 5, a chapter from biology, the fundamental unit of life. Fundamental stands for the basic unit of life. Your life is possible because of a certain basic element that is called the cell. So we'll be learning about what cell is and what are its components and how you are surviving because of your cell. Okay. The first question which comes is, how did you come to know that such a material called cell or such a substance called cell is there in your body, or your body is made up of this basic unit? Well, the credit goes to Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke was a biologist who in the year 1665 was very much fascinated by this question of how we are surviving or what is making us survive. He observed the cork. Cork is a substance which you find in the outermost part of the tree. Outermost part is called the bark. That is, Gujarati you call it as chhal. Outermost portion of the tree. In that you have a substance called the cork. So the cork cells were observed by him under a very primitive microscope. At that time advanced microscope was not there. You can call it as a simple microscope also. So with the help of a simple microscope he observed that there were certain structures. Now he didn't know what to call it. So in Latin he termed it as cell. The meaning of cell is, you can call it as a prison, you can call it as a confinement, or you can also refer to as a compartment. So there were small compartments which were visible, and it was closed from all the sides, and hence he referred it to as a cell. So this is how you come to know basic unit of life is cell. So now, to understand this particular thing in detail, you normally, how did they observe that the cell is visible? Because normally you find that it's colorless. So in the cell, see here I have written Robert Hooke in 1665 observed cork cells, which is the outermost part of the bark. Now cell stands for prison, confinement, jail bhi keh sakte hain, and compartment. In case of plant cell, we use normally the safranin solution. And in animal cell, if you want to observe an animal cell, it is generally methylene blue which is preferred. They are the stains. Now what do you understand by stain? Stain actually stands for dag. Am I right? But here the stain is desirable. It is a colored substance which imparts color, because otherwise you see the cell appears colorless. So parts will not be visible. So you add stain to the specimen. When you add the stain, the color will be absorbed by the parts of the cell. So what will happen? The parts of the cell will become more visible. Clear? So this is how Robert Hooke, he used a stain to see the parts, and he could find compartments. Okay? In the laboratory, you can make use of, activity 5.1 is given to you. In lab, you can take a small section, thin outer peel of the onion cell. Onion bulb, the outermost thin peel if you take, it is called the epidermis. That can be observed under the microscope after you stain it with safranin solution. Okay. So the visible matter would be something like this. So this is called the compartment. See, it is closed from all the sides. When it is closed from all the sides, वो एक jail जैसा हो जाता है. Therefore, you give the term confinement, compartment, or a cell. And these black dots, they are referred to as a nucleus. And this outer limiting membrane is called as wall, cell wall. So this is roughly how an onion cell looks like if you observe it under the microscope after you stain it. Clear? Now, before we study into details about the cell, there are many people who have contributed. Okay, this is put up under the section of do you know. But still, you should be knowing the names of the various scientists and their contributions. I made your work easier over here, children. I have underlined the names of the scientists and I have written a number over them. and their contribution I have put it in brackets. So what should you do is, in your notebook, you will prepare a column, a table, in which one column heading will be name of the scientist, and opposite to that you will write the contribution or the work done by the scientist. So Robert Hooke in the year 1665, he observed cell for the first time. Leeuwenhoek was a scientist in 1674 who discovered free living cells in pond water. He observed a different type of cell in the water. Third person who contributed is Robert Brown. Robert Brown was the person who discovered the nucleus in the cell for the first time in 1831. Purkinje in 1839, he gave the term protoplasm. Coined the term means he was the first person to give the term protoplasm. Protoplasm is cytoplasm. Then the next scientist was Claydon and Skevan in the year 1838 and 1839. These two biologists, they actually put forth a theory called the cell theory, in which they put down all their findings. They were carrying out different work, and whatever discoveries they made, whatever observations they made regarding the cell, that was put up under the heading of cell theory. Followed by Virchow in 1855. He expanded the theory. Which theory? The cell theory, which was proposed by Claydon and Skevan. That was expanded, means he added more information which he found out during his time. Sorry. So these names and their contributions you should be knowing, because they are the one. So it's not that a cell was one fine day discovered and all the components, all the information, all the knowledge came together at the same time. No. Clear? So this is sometimes asked in the MCQs or one marker section. Clear till then? I hope you must have got time to write it down. Now, we go back to our explanation on cell again. In a cell you find that the cells which are found, they can basically be put up under two categories. They will be unicellular or they will be multicellular. Unicellular means only a single cell taking up the entire job. Entire job stands for digestion, respiration, reproduction, circulation. Every physiological process, life process, is carried out by that single cell alone. Examples: amoeba, paramecium, they are the protozoans. Okay? Bacteria also comes under this category. Multicellular, on the other hand, are the cells, are the animals which are having numerous cells in it. Numerous. Okay? Example: fungus, algae, plants, animals. In that you have numerous type of cells, and they all work together in different way, different functions, different way, so that the entire body works out. Now, any cell will have the following characteristics. A cell can be identified by the shape. Means there can be definite shapes like cube, cuboid, squamous. It may be longer. It may be a shape which may not have a particular name. Okay. So that is called cells having definite shape. At the same time, amoeba is not having any shape at all. So it's called shapeless cell. In your human body, the liver cells, the cells of the liver are called Kupffer cells. They are also without any shape. WBC, the white blood cells, are also not having any shape. They can change their shape. Then size-wise, if you see, the largest cell would be ostrich egg cell. It is a single largest cell, so large that you can see with the naked eye, the egg of the ostrich. It's a cell. Whereas smallest will be Pleuropneumonia-like organism. PPLO stands for Pleuropneumonia-like organism. Very, very, very small cell. Its measurement will be in microns. Clear? Now, in case of multicellular organisms, an important phenomenon which you see is called the division of labor. What do you understand by division of labor? In Gujarati, you call it as Kamni Venchani. Different functions are taken by different group of cells. Okay, so for respiration you have a group of cells, group of organs, group of tissues which are working, which will not take up the function of digestion. Those organs, those cells, those tissues which are involved in digestion cannot participate in reproduction. So that is called division of labor. For different job, different group of cells are assigned. That is a feature of multicellular organisms. A cell is referred to as a structural and functional unit of a living organism. Why do you call that? Any living organism's basic structure and functional unit is a cell, because it is the cells which get together in definite manner, definite arrangement, and which forms the structure of an animal, of a plant. You just look around in your nature, there are so many different types of plants, very small shrubs, herbs, to huge gigantic trees. Pattern of the flowers, pattern of the leaf, the stem, its arrangement, everything is different. Variety, isn't it? You cannot even count. So much diversified arrangement is there. Same way in animals. Numerous structures, different types of structure. That is because of the cell. The cells which are getting together, which are arranged together in a definite manner. Function, on the other hand, the function of the entire body will depend upon the function of the group of cells which are arranged, which are taking up a definite function. As I told you, digestion. For digestion, whatever cells are involved, their mechanism, the secretions, that is entirely different from those cells of your eye, isn't it? So, structure and function of a human body, of a plant body, is because of the structure and function of the entire cells which are present in it. Okay, till here, I hope this much topic is clear to you all. Okay, so in the textbook, where do you come across all this? Unicellular organisms like amoeba, examples are there: amoeba, Chlamydomonas, Paramecium,